34 male, and my wife, 43F, have been together for 16 years and married for 7. We have a 4-year-old daughter. After the first few years where my wife was very kind, present, loving, and affectionate, things have changed a lot. I rarely receive kisses from her, let alone hugs or kind words. She doesn't ask how I am in the morning, let alone say good morning or good night. I am tired of this. I have told her in every possible way that, as a man, I need these expressions of love to feel loved. Her excuse is that she is too stressed because of the child, but these things were happening even before our daughter was born, or that everything depends on my behavior towards her. Every time, it always depends only on me. When we argue about this, she says I'm exaggerating. Tired of arguing about this for a year, I have recorded in a diary all her expressions of love over the past month. Here you see a screenshot. I know it may seem exaggerated, but believe me, I am exhausted and don't know how else to show her the lack of love I feel from her. What I don't understand is that, sexually, things are fine and we have sex 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes initiated by her. I am fed up, I don't feel loved as I would like, and I have lived like this for many years and now I can't take it anymore. Please don't get mad at me, everyone needs their own time to understand certain things, and I realized this over the past year. I am a romantic, passionate, and attentive man. Normally, I can give 5 to 6 hugs a day, kisses, compliments, surprises, and I can talk about anything and discuss things in different ways. However, being treated like this makes me shut down and withdraw because of the lack of reciprocity. I am seriously thinking of divorcing because I don't feel heard or understood. I don't see a person who understands and takes action to change the situation. Update 1. These days, after publishing the post, I've spent a lot of time reading online, watching reels, watching YouTube videos to better understand my situation, and thanks to one of these, I discovered the issue of avoidant attachment style. I was stunned by how closely my wife fit the description, and I set out to thoroughly study the case. I also identified other things I should do in my relationship: set clear boundaries, demand that my requests are understood, respected, and fulfilled, stand firm in my position, and if necessary, make it clear that I'm willing to leave. I showed the Excel sheet to my wife the next day. Her first response was, "But yesterday we cuddled." I told her, "Look at the facts over the past month. There are things you never do and the few things you do are a result of my complaints or arguments. They're not debatable, I'm sorry." Then I told her what I discovered and how she fits into the case. I read her the main characteristics of these people and the types of traumas they have gone through in their lives. I explained to her, knowing her personal family story, that this was mainly thanks to the abuse she received when she was a kid from her parents. My wife was stunned and listened, then asked me, "So what should I do to solve this?" My answer was I don't know because I really don't know. The thing I do know, and what I told her, is that these problems were generated in her childhood and need to be addressed now. I'm now informing myself about the options available to solve or at least alleviate these issues. Sadly, we have difficult schedules, so a therapist is now off the table. During the day I cried a lot because finally, after 16 years, I understood why we had these problems. A strong sadness came over me because I recalled all the situations where I was treated badly, with indifference, and did not receive the affection I wanted. I also remembered all the lies and manipulations used over time to cover up her shortcomings. I think the first step is to focus on myself and solve my own problems since I developed an anxious attachment style. I'll probably use an online course and books to do this since I have very little time between my daughter and work. If it works, I will propose it to my wife, who says, "I understand, don't worry, now I know what I need to give you without courses or anything." But I have serious doubts about this statement and will continue to track what happens in my diary to have objective data. I've already told her that if, unfortunately, this situation doesn't resolve, I will proceed with divorce, and when I do, if forced, I won't go back. That will be the end. I will also follow the excellent advice from, in the meantime. I will let you know what happens. Personally, I want to see how things go next week. I am sure, unless I am mistaken, that my wife will only last 3 days. In any case, I will continue on my path to heal and be ready for a new relationship when the time comes. Update 2. So, as expected, my wife lasted less than 3 days, actually just 1, in terms of giving kisses, hugs, cuddling. But it doesn't matter, I found all the things I need to fix in me, so I'm starting the journey alone in order to grow and be able, without hesitation, to proceed with a divorce and don't go back to her. I'm also seeing a lawyer to have everything checked before I proceed in the future. The interesting thing is that I listed all my insecurities and issues related to the trauma I experienced in my childhood, and I see a lot of things that I need to work about and a fix in me. I asked out of curiosity to my wife what are the top 3 things she thinks should be fixed, expecting them to be at least 10 items, but she just told me that defensiveness and stonewalling are the only 2 things and that, without them, I would be a perfect husband. I was stunned and confused the whole day. I also asked her if removing these 2 things would result in her loving me more, but she told me no because she already loves me the way I am and this is just my cross. So it seems she's happy with the marriage while I'm not. I want more from a relationship, at least the basic caring of a wife. I don't think I'll give you any other update because I'll be focused improving things in myself, but once the time's come for me to proceed with the divorce. Update 3. I began my journey of shadow work on my own. I thoroughly read about how to do it, studied everything carefully, and started confronting, with much pain, my past and what I experienced in my family of origin. The first thing I realized was this very clingy and needy part of me that craved love, a bit too much, and I understood what a wounded and defenseless child lived inside me. I realized I needed to embrace him, hold him, and take care of him myself, as I was the only one who could give him unconditional and always available love. It might sound strange, but realizing this allowed me to somehow talk to my deep self, embrace him, and make him understand that now I comprehend, I am here, I protect, and I am here for him. From that moment, I stopped seeking attention from my wife, a total reset, and with the new love I now know how to show myself, I feel calm, secure, and most importantly, no longer needy. I stopped seeking my wife entirely, no kisses, no hugs, no sweet words, and zero conversations initiated by me. If she wants to, she can do it, otherwise, I am no longer interested. I am happy with myself. In the 2 weeks this has been happening, she hasn't complained about anything. This made me realize that my hypotheses regarding her type of attachment were correct. After realizing this, I understood almost all the things that trigger me in my marriage and why, linking them to the traumas I experienced in the past. I first tackled the issues of criticism and stonewalling. I discovered that because of how my mother treated me and all the physical and verbal abuse from my stepfather, who hated me, I was always hyper-vigilant and trying to understand if I was in danger and if anyone wanted to harm or criticize me. I suffered immensely reliving all this again, but I managed to understand why I was triggered, reasoned about why all this happened, tried to put myself in my mother's and stepfather's shoes to understand why they became the way they did. I know both of their childhood stories, and I have radically desensitized myself from this. Without going into details, I told my wife that I resolved that one problem she always talked to me about, and to see the results in the following days. In the following days, there were countless situations where I would normally have exploded and or stonewalled, but I got through them calmly and unscathed, without being triggered. Even in important situations. This made me happy because I realized how much my past was negatively impacting my present. Unfortunately, although we no longer have frequent arguments with my wife, she hasn't had significant changes. I just saw her happier and calmer, but she hasn't changed at all. I had asked her before starting this journey if resolving this issue would make her the loving, present, in-love woman from 2008 again. She said yes, but I have yet to see any changes. Some evenings she has come to hug me for barely 3 minutes. Once she gave me a quick kiss calling me love. That's it. It's okay. At the moment the focus is that I need to heal. What surprised me the most instead was the rapid response of my 4-year-old daughter. Becoming calmer and more confident, I saw a surge in her tranquility and happiness, and now she wants to play and spend time with me much more willingly. She immediately noticed the change and feels very secure with me. This filled me with joy, and I bonded even more with her. Continuing the shadow work, I am now dealing with another theme, the constant arguments and rejections from my stepfather whenever I asked for something. Every time I asked for something, like going out with friends, going to eat a pizza, playing soccer, or some money to buy a sandwich in the evening, there were always constant arguments where he said no. I had to fight with him, argue endlessly. Besides the many no's, he always repeated that the no's were tied to things I hadn't done or things I had done wrong. I won't go into details now because otherwise, this post would become too long, but believe me, he hated me to death and nearly drove me to suicide. Reliving all this crap, I understood the dynamics in the relationship with my wife who, although she does a lot wrong, always tells me that everything depends on me and what I did/didn't do with her. I am almost done addressing this aspect, the rejections from my stepfather, my inferiority, anxiety, low self-esteem, and little by little, I am discovering a sea of self-esteem, grit, determination, and anger that lies within me. With my wife, I am becoming a different person, confident, strong, understanding her needs as well. In these 2 weeks, I have experienced a calm and serenity that I hadn't felt in a long time. 0 arguments with my wife and 0 dramas. But unfortunately, there is a but. As you know, we have a stressful situation with our daughter, and sometimes the days are very heated. Like 2 days ago, in one of these, my wife verbally insulted me, using various bad words, but I confronted her, without using bad words or anything, that she can save the behavior for her street friends, not for me, her husband. I hadn't done anything wrong in that situation. The next day we had another situation where she physically threatened to slap me. Again I wasn't scared but rather, a strong anger and desire to defend myself arose within me. I told her that she absolutely must not dare, and I no longer tolerate these things. I am not the same person anymore, and I am not afraid of her. So my life now is really heated with many problems and changes happening. Doing this shadow work hurts, but the results are there and are evident. I am finally understanding myself, helping myself, my self-esteem is rebuilding, and it is drastically changing my family dynamics. I am also going to the lawyer next week to clearly understand my situation and what a divorce would entail regarding my daughter, money, and other factors. Finally, I am no longer afraid of being left or leaving my wife, which is what has held me back for 16 years from taking this step if necessary. I'll end with 2 things. 1. I hope to heal quickly, Now that I am healing, I can more easily recognize my wife's problems and how to help her. I aim to be at least 90% healed before explaining to her how I resolved my issues and what I am now. 2. Many of you criticized me for my Excel diary, but it was useful to do it, not so much for my wife, but for me. Now that I recognize my flaws, insecurities, fears, anxieties, and triggers, I know what to work on. Until next time. I'm using the time to heal. Having someone who triggers you helps you understand better yourself. Once I'm healed and I'm sure, I can proceed with the divorce with calm and serenity, if things don't improve. She needs to heal as well, but now I'm not in the position to tell her anything or to expect anything. First I need to heal. If she decides that she is okay the way she is, then a bye-bye is guaranteed. Nothing specific, I'm just using a moleskin and a pen. I'm exploring my traumas with 5 questions. 1. What am I doing right now? And I explain what triggers me, how, what are the emotions involved, what are the people involved. I try to be as honest as possible too. What are the past experiences that lead me to this behavior? I explore my child trauma related to this behavior, what happened, just stating facts I remember and connecting the dots. 3. Why this happened? Where I explore the people involved, mostly my mother and stepfather. I put myself in their shoes and understand their trauma and POV, so they no more are monsters now but simple grown children with traumas and issues. I then have compassion for them and I forgive them for what did I understand? Where I reason on what I understood by answering the 3 questions above. 5. What do you want to say to yourself? Where I talk to myself and I hug myself and explain to myself that it's okay to feel the way I feel, that I'm strong now, that I'm here for me and then I feel free. Update 4. It has been 7 days and I want to give you an update on how things are going. The last post is this one. I'll break it down into points to make it easier to read. It's going really well. I've dealt with more issues from my childhood and all of this has given me incredible confidence and self-esteem. After years of hating myself and calling myself awful names, I looked in the mirror and loved myself. I actually said, I love you, and you are the most important person in my life. I love you exactly as you are, with your strengths and weaknesses. These were the words I always sought from a woman, but my wife never said or made me feel this way. I did it for myself. Now that I've matured, I've become a man for the first time. I realized that no one was going to come help me and that it was all and only up to me. I understood that everything is my sole responsibility, and I alone can change what happens in my life. From this moment on, when I have difficult and sad times because of my situation, I no longer end up in despair. I'm there to console myself and lift my spirits. This is so new for me that I'm genuinely happy for the first time in my life. In the coming weeks, I'm tackling the remaining issues. I think I'll be done in 1 to 2 weeks. Why is everything progressing so quickly? Because I'm extremely clear about my problems. I have the will to descend into hell each time to face everything again, and I know how to proceed. I described it last time. My daughter is quickly understanding who's taking control and leading this family. I've noticed that she has started to respect me more, look for me more, and trust me more. She is the one who's grasping what's happening the fastest. I am falling more and more in love with my daughter, and I'm realizing how much my personal self-esteem issues were negatively impacting her life. Now that I'm healing, she's healing too. I'm over the moon about this. I've stopped being a people pleaser. I no longer care about looking nice, being agreeable, or thanking people too much. Simple, precise, and well-formulated interactions without fear. I don't even recognize myself. Every time I act differently from the past, I feel a fire of self-esteem inside that confirms what I've resolved in my mind. Obviously, it's not going well, which shouldn't come as a surprise. I'm discussing everything with my lawyer to prepare for the divorce. In my country, there are specific laws and situations to be aware of. My wife is not taking the power shift well, but the disrespect has decreased. I no longer accept being yelled at in the face. It's unacceptable. After several times of trying to calm her down, she threatened me, saying that we need to talk about going our separate ways, that the chances she gave me have run out, that it's necessary to separate for the common good, etc. One particular day, she mentioned it several times in the afternoon, and I replied, okay, let's talk. I agree, we should go our separate ways. I need a real woman who loves me. I don't need to stay with you. Each time, she watched my reactions. By the evening, she was silent and didn't say anything. 2 days later, she said again that we should talk about separation, and I again said, okay, no problem. This morning, she put on makeup, I ignored her, and came to give me a kiss, saying that for the sake of the family, we need to give the relationship another chance. However, I have understood what happened and why I'm in this situation. When we met, I was 18 years old and insecure. I felt ugly, lonely, and miserable in my family home and was desperately looking for a woman to be with. She is very beautiful and probably, after 2 relationships with bad boy archetypes where she was treated poorly and many dates with people with healthy attachments who recognized her, avoidant attachment, and didn't continue, she found me, an insecure, good guy with nice ideals to drain all the love and sweetness she could, offering me only her beauty and sex as a reward, without the need to invest herself, without the need to commit to this relationship. I was very hurt to discover all of this, but we moved forward. Sometimes I am angry with her, other times I think about how broken I was, and it was my fault too. But it doesn't matter, my healing process moves forward and takes precedence. To remove further power from her, I told her that I no longer want to have sex with her. I don't intend to let my mind get clouded by sex. I need a person who loves, esteems, and cares for me 24/7. Now on to second story. Confronted my sister-in-law for calling me a bad mother, accused her of burdening my brother with stress, and now family is divided. I have a little brother, 27 male. Me and him are extremely close. He married his wife, Alice 28F, when he was 22 and I tolerate her. My sons really like Alice. She works with kids and loves them, so I wasn't surprised. The first time they met, my sons were 6 and they were always talking about her. As my sons grew, I worked often and couldn't always be with them. My parents babysat them and once my brother got older he did too. Now, my brother and his wife babysit them while I work. Thing is, my brother has triplets, 4M, and taking care of 3 toddlers and 2 teenagers is not easy. He called me a few times saying that he's really stressed out due to his job. Yesterday, I went to their house to pick up my sons. I had planned on telling my Sil that my boys are old enough to stay home alone after school and she doesn't need to have them over all the time because I understand how stressful it is. Instead I was met with my sons begging me to let them stay the night at their house and my Sil asking me to consider it. I was upset because it's been days since I got a night off and I wanted to be with my sons. I asked my Sil to talk in private and told her that I'm their mother and I deserve to spend time with them, too. Basically, I asked her to reschedule. She said that I could join them but I wanted to spend time with just my boys. I said this and she said that was pretty selfish of me because the boys don't want to. This part hurts, but Alice said that my boys wished she was their mother and that I should do better instead of complaining to her ABT everything. I complained to her a few times before ABT how they prefer her, but she always reassured me that wasn't true. In retaliation, I called her selfish for forcing my brother to take care of so many kids despite the amount of stress she knows he's in. She rolled her eyes and walked away. I was about to cry so I left. One of my sons called me a couple of times but I went to sleep. I woke up to a text from my brother saying he adored my sons and that he never felt pressured to take care of them. Yes, his job has been a pain but my sons and his wife don't add to the stress at all. He also said that my house is in an unsafe neighborhood while they live in a much better community, so having the boys stay home alone is irresponsible and dangerous. That just made me more upset, so I told him to fuck off and he told me that I could say whatever to him but not to speak to his wife like earlier. Now, I believe I'm in the right to say what I did because my Sil is acting as if I'm the worst mother despite knowing how hard I'm working. She also made things unnecessarily personal? But my brother is making it seem like I'm the asshole. So Ida for calling her selfish? Update 1. I'm really emotional right now so I'm just going to get right to it. I know PPL aren't asking for an update but I wanted to share. After I made my post I read through all your comments and I realized that I was indeed the asshole. I recognize this, however I can't deny that what my Sil said hurt bad. It bothered me a lot. I even took a day off, which I have never done in my life, because I didn't have it in me to get up. My whole world shattered and I know now it is my fault. The morning of the 17th after my brother dropped off my boys, they came into my room and told me they had to show me something. My boys are really musically talented and turns out they made a video of them playing a song for me. I burst into happy tears. My birthday is today actually and they planned on showing it to me today but were aware that I was upset and apparently my brother found out I stayed home from work and they all decided to show it to me earlier. I don't think you all understand how I feel. I've always been so insecure and like many of you mentioned, I have always been jealous of how well Alice connected with my boys and thought I couldn't compare to her. And after what she said, I felt much worse, but I know that I have nothing to be jealous or insecure about. Yes, my boys adore my brother and his wife but I'm their mother and they love me too. They reassured me on it and I told them that I love them the most in the entire world and we basically had a heart-to-heart. I even called Alice and we both apologized. She said that she was upset because one of my boys had been upset about how I wasn't at one of his recitals and instead of making an effort to be more involved in their lives I just complain. And I admit, I always thought that making money for my boys was the most important thing. That if I work overtime and miss a few concerts it was fine. That they'll appreciate it in the long run. I know that it's wrong and although it's a hard mindset to change I'm planning on making a few changes to my work schedule so that I have more free time. Not now as I'm currently saving up to get a new place in a more secure area but in a few weeks. I told this to my sons and got their reactions. I've never felt happier. Like many of you also mentioned, I'm pretty freaking lucky. I have the most supportive and loving family and the best sons I could have ever asked for. I can only hope to be as wonderful as them. I know I sound emotional but I've spent a lot of time with my boys these few days and I'm so overjoyed. I'm crying typing this because of how happy I am. I hope this encourages fellow parents to spend time with your kids because there's nothing quite like it. Thank you for the judgment and support. Smile edit. I'm sorry for using N instead of other variations in my last post. I know it's bothersome but I wasn't in the right mind and wasn't really thinking about my overuse of N. Also saw someone say something about the chances of people in the same family having multiples. It's rare, but it happens. My family has a lot of history with multiple kids, twins usually though. I don't know why or the science behind it, but it's not that crazy of a thing.